Good morning and welcome to Matchday Live. It is a huge day in the Premier League today. City travel to Nottingham to take on one of our top four rivals in Nottingham Forest. It is a beautiful day in Manchester here where we are, where the studio is. And as you can see in the background there, it is an absolutely stunning day in Nottingham as well. Now, we are joined by two very special guests today. We have a debutante, which we always love. And of course, we have one of our favourite reoccurring guests as well. So one is a giant of goalkeeping. He's faced some of the best strikers in the world and played for over 300 times for our rivals today, Nottingham Forest. And the other, of course, a no-nonsense defender. He spent 3 years here at City. So please welcome Mark Crossley and Kit Symons. Hi, gents.
Afternoon.
Hi, Nat.
Lovely to see you, Kit. And we should say right at the start as well, thank you for being here today and a big happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much. 54 years young today. Thank you.
When you thought about your birthday and how you'd like to spend it, I presume that here in the Matchday Live studio was top of your...
Absolutely. Birthday wishes come true. What more can I ask for?
Well, we are glad that you're spending it, or we are spending it with you. And Mark, your debut, welcome to Matchday Live.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Have you heard good things about us? You've obviously not been put off by Kit or anything.
No. I watched a few clips which I had sent through, so yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And obviously I know Kit really well from our days with Wales, so looking forward to it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here today. So thank you all for joining us. Of course, this is always the first place to get your team news. And we are going to give you the Manchester City starting 11 now. There are 9 changes from the team that beat Plymouth last weekend in the FA Cup. So your starting 11, Edison is back in goal. And then it is Nunes, Kusanov, Diaz, who is captain today, Vardiol, Nico, Bernardo, Savinio, Foden, Jeremy Doku and Erling Haaland. So that is 9 changes from the team that beat Plymouth last weekend in the FA Cup. That is City's starting 11 today. It's a 12:30 p.m. kickoff against Nottingham Forest in the Premier League. You can see the starting 11 there across the bottom of your screen as well. So, Kit, immediately, what's your first impressions of that starting 11?
Looks really strong, doesn't it? You look at that and you think that's not a bad team. So straight away, yeah, he's gone. I think there's always going to be quite a few changes from the cup game, so to be expected. But yeah, very strong lineup. Like the look of that.
And obviously, yes, lots of changes from that cup team. For you, Mark, when you look at that initial City 11, where are you kind of looking a bit nervous, particularly at?
Just glad I'm not still playing in goal for Nottingham Forest, to be honest. But yeah, obviously very strong as expected. Changes expected as well. So you see City taking the game to Forest as you would, but Forest have been good this year at soaking up pressure and getting teams on the counter attack, and I don't see any difference today, to be honest.
Yeah, if we start, Kit, with you with that defensive lineup, obviously we had the news this week that Nathan Ake is going to be out for a little while due to that surgery that he's having. City have had terrible trouble with injuries. Obviously, Manuel Akanji's out as well. John Stones has suffered various injuries this season, and so has Ruben Diaz, who thankfully is back in today. But we did strengthen in the January window. So, of course, we brought Kadir Kusanov in. He won Player of the Month last year, which, by the way, the most votes the club's ever had for a Player of the Month. He's become instantly adored. What have you thought of him since he came to the club?
Well, absolutely brilliant. I mean, take away that the initial sort of 5-minute spell against Chelsea was very difficult for him. Since then, he's gone from strength to strength. And I mean, just as well, we did sign him in January as well because of all these other injuries. But he's come in, he's been excellent, really, really good. And listening to Pep as well, apparently he's a really, really popular figure in the changing room, just keeps smiling all the time, apparently. I think he's so pleased to be here. And that's shown in his performances. He's been fantastic. And long may it last.
Have you seen the video? You might not. If you've not seen it yet, you need to get onto City's social media this week. They asked him if he knew any Manc terms yet. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it. No.
And he went, "I'm buzzing," in like the most Manc accent. I don't think he speaks English, but the most Manc accent I've ever heard. It was brilliant. And yeah, I love the way he's slotted right into the defence. Obviously, next to Diaz today is a great bonus. Obviously, Ruben Diaz has been an incredible servant to the club over the last 4 years that he's been here. I imagine for someone as young as Kusanov to be partnered with someone as experienced as Ruben Diaz, 4 Premier Leagues he's won in a row, that will be great for his development as well. Massively,
yeah. I mean, he's Ruben's our most sort of vociferous leader within that, and he'll massively help Kusanov with his sort of develop his game and allow him to play his own game a little bit without the worry of other things as well. So, no, playing alongside someone like that is massive for a young player's development. So, yeah, long may it last as well. Absolutely. And of course, we had Vitor Hayes, who came in the Plymouth game, who did great as well. So I'm so thankful that we strengthened in the January window, given the amount of injuries that we've had. In terms of that back four as well for City, Mark, we've been playing Matheus Nunes in a kind of right-back position. It is right-back position, but of course he's playing that position where he, on the attack, he moves into that midfield role as well. He's also incredibly fast as well. Have you seen City this year in terms of the back four and how we've been defending or playing? I've seen little bits, yeah. I mean, not too much because you tend to focus on your own teams. I'm very surprised, obviously, that City this season have not been as good. But when you just mentioned there about the injuries, unsettled team lineups all the time. But yeah, I mean, he looks like he can play in numerous positions and having a little bit of pace as well. We all know Kyle Walker could do that job as well, and how he carried on and the pace that he has. So yeah, I mean, you just look at that team. Forest will be worried about it, and they'll realise that. They can't go and take the game to City. City will take the game to Forest. I can guarantee you that today. But the positions in the league, obviously, it's a massive game. I see Forest sitting back and trying what they usually do is counter-attacking. But that team looks pretty strong, to be honest. Yeah, Matheus Nunes is incredibly fast as well. I think perhaps, I mean, so's Kusanov as well. We do have a really fast back line there as well. Yeah. In terms of the rest of the team, just sort of looking into the midfield area as well, Nico obviously came in January. Today in that kind of middle position, it's looking like Nico, Bernardo and Phil Foden. What have you made of Nico since he came in and how he's fit in and how he's developed over the last couple of weeks? Again, really good. He had a difficult introduction, Orient away in the Cup and picking up an injury. But again, since then, he's been really good. Brings that stability which we really need in that central midfield area, which has been key. I think that's where, probably the biggest area we've struggled this season. Obviously, Rodri being out, who was immense. So that was always going to be a difficult void to fill. But there was no sort of ideal replacement for him. But Nico coming in is that type mini Rodri. I think they're calling him already. So we can see him there just on the screen. Yeah. So he's come in and again still adjusting, finding his feet to the Premier League, to life at Man City, but he's got off to a really good start and looks like he's going to become a fantastic player for the club. Loving these arrivals of the team coming. There's Pep Guardiola, and just how beautiful and sunny it looks in Nottingham today. Wherever you're watching around the world, if you're not in the UK, you'll know that this weather is unusual for us at this time of year. So we're very much enjoying seeing the sunshine coming down. Of course, there's Ilkay Gundogan and there's Kusanov, not smiling for once, just taking all that in for the minute. So there you go. The team is arriving. The starting 11 is on the bottom of your screen as well. Starting today as well, we do have Savinho and Doku playing out on both of the wings. Of course, I think they've been brilliant in the last couple of weeks, Kit. So fast, so dangerous, so many chances created. It's so nice to see the balls getting whipped in from both sides, which I feel like we didn't see at the start of the season. No, I mean, wide players ultimately end up getting judged on creation, chances created and scoring goals. Come the end of the season, you look at those two stats for the wide players, what have they contributed? And these two boys, like you say, have been making chances. I mean, I think both of them can score more goals and will do as they develop as City players. But the chance creation and, like I say, the pace they both possess and trickery has been really impressive to see, and a big part of City sort of getting back to close to where we were before.
In terms of how Forest will deal with Savidio and Doku, Mark, of course, they play out nice and wide on both wings. They're both fast. We know they both like to hold the ball. They like to run at the defenders. And they can either take the defenders on or put in a whipping cross. How are Forest going to deal with that?
Well, what Forest have done this season is they've accepted that they can't go and attack teams, especially teams like Manchester City. So they are quite prepared to sit back, not let pace get in behind them, which will happen today. I would imagine that they will cut out the pace in behind. And they're very good at counter-attacking. And it's been quite refreshing to see a team that's not expected to do well up there, but playing in a typical way that, you know, they don't play out from the back very much. They're quite happy to go forward from the goalkeeper to the big striker Chris Wood, and they got a lot of pace around Chris Wood. So it won't be any different today to what they've done all season. They have been conceding quite a few goals of late, which at the beginning of the season they weren't. So they'll try to rectify that by stopping pace getting in behind them.
Of course, Ainey's been an incredible fullback this season as well. It's going to be an interesting battle with him today down those wings.
For me, he's been the player of the season so far.
Really?
Yeah, I think he's an excellent player. It was a brilliant signing. His first couple of seasons were a little bit hit and miss, but this season he has been, for me, probably the most outstanding player. One that you don't really look at too much, but when you're watching them on a regular basis, a massive fans' favourite and excellent player.
Wow, because I knew he'd been good, but I didn't realise that, I mean, in a team, obviously we're going to get into the Nottingham Forest team, we'll give you the team news soon and we'll get your thoughts on it, but a team that's had so many standout players, to name Ainey a fullback that's very, very high praise.
I think it just shows that, of course, the goalkeeper's been very good as well.
Yeah.
So I have to, I think he's probably been in the top 3 this season of the goalkeepers in the Premier League. He's been excellent. But for me, I don't know. I watch the games and I watch Ainey play, and I love the way he plays. I love the way he defends. He's quick. He likes to get forward. The 2 centre-backs have been really good as well. Murillo, young Brazilian player, has been excellent. And solidly, as a defence, most of the season they've been all right. It's just of late, the form's just gone a little bit. Conceded 4 at Bournemouth, conceded 4 at Newcastle. Yeah. So from keeping clean sheets, they've gone to conceding goals. So that'll be a slight concern.
Yeah. We'll get on to the Forest team and we'll give you that very, very shortly. In terms of that City team, looking right at the top there, Erling Haaland back today. He seems like he's getting back to that goal-scoring level. I mean, he's still scored a phenomenal amount of goals this season. But in terms of him getting back to... It's a lovely time of the season for him to be hitting that. And do you think he's been helped as well by the way that the wingers have been playing?
Yeah, I think so, certainly. I mean, someone like big Erling Haaland is all about the service he gets. I mean, he can score goals sort of himself from good areas, but he needs that service. And you know, I think you speak to any sort of orthodox striker, and the balls they get given thread through there, and crosses from wide is what they thrive on. So it's great to see him. I mean, when he didn't play the other week, he was really missed. And although Mamouche came in and is a very, very good player. When he's not playing, he's missed so much, I think, Erling Haaland. And to see him getting back to... It looks just like he's enjoying it a bit more as well. He's more involved maybe in games, I think, because he had a little spell where sometimes he wasn't getting as many touches as you'd like and he wasn't that involved. But I think with these wide players playing the way they are at the moment and in such good form, he's going to get service. So he's always involved in the game, and he's always... As soon as it goes wide, he's thinking, where can I make my run? How do I get across my striker, my defender, pull off the back of him? What am I going to do? So straight away, he's in the game. He's alive and alert. And he knows there's a good chance both wingers can beat their man and get across him, and a quality cross. So he's in the game and he's alive and he's alert, which is what we want.
Yeah, very, very, very exciting at the minute as well. And of course, again, we'll get onto it. You have a phenomenal number 9 in your team as well at the other end for you, Mark, as well. We are, though, going to go now over to the Forest ground. We've got FG and Michael Brown that are very much enjoying the sunshine in Nottingham. Now, it's been a big week for FG. He got his own EA card this week. Very, very exciting for him, until he opened it up and realised that EA had given him a pace of 0-1. 0-1. Just take that in for a minute, everybody. But they also did give him a physicality of 99. So, FG, what's your feelings about your EA card?
Yeah, thank you very much. Welcome to the City Ground. 99 strength EA Sports gave me, and 1 pace brownie. What do you reckon?
Well, no, I think you're quicker than that. Maybe a 2. What do you think?
Double
but the
the pace.
strength, let's be honest. Honestly.
I've got 99
I
strength.
know you look like bulky and like it's quite, whatever, but you're not really strong, are you?
I'm pretty strong.
No, come on.
I've got a long throw as well. I've got acrobatic playstyle.
We're going to bring that throw to you soon as we get the opportunity to see how long the throw is, by the way.
I'll happily test my throw on this show today. Like, listen, if you get the ball, I'll throw it, but I'll be able to... How far do you reckon I'll make it?
Not as far as Mark Crossley.
Well, probably, absolutely not. A very warm welcome to the City Ground, everybody, and happy birthday, Kit Symons. He's in the studio on his birthday. Where better to spend his time in the studio than
I don't know where it's gone. 55 for Kit. I mean,
it looks
a really good milestone, isn't it? Congratulations, Kit.
Congratulations indeed. We've just seen the Man City team, and for a change, I think Mr. Michael Brown is feeling a little bit confident as to where somebody is playing in this starting lineup. Our very own Phil Foden. Surely he's playing in the middle.
Do you know
of the
what?
park,
I hope so. It'd be really nice. Listen, wherever Phil Foden plays, whether it's the wider areas, whether he drifts inside, he's got unbelievable talent and know-how on the half-turn, how he drifts into areas. But if you can get him on the ball centrally, we might see sort of really good goal attempts. He can also slide passes in as well. So something different, a big opportunity for him. I like the way the team looks. I think it's attacking. We've got wide players with pace and energy. This should be a really good game today.
It should be indeed. I mean, how much confidence do you think that will give Phil Foden to be given? It's 3rd against 4th here today. Early kickoff, big stakes. Trying to get into the top 4, and the manager's sort of backed him, providing he is playing in the middle.
Yeah, he could be playing left back, you don't know, do you? But the thing is, when you talk about Phil Foden, I don't think he's phased regards to like a big confidence booster. He'll say, OK, I'm in that position, that's where I'm comfortable, that's where I like to play. Whether he's been given more responsibility of going back the other way in wider areas when we've seen in certain big games, because he can do both. Phil Foden, he understands that role now that Pep wants, but he'll feel like there's a little bit of freedom, a little bit of protection in the middle of the pitch where he can then, drift into areas, pull off on little angles, then balls into his feet and to make it take forward, and then that supply line. So I think he'll be looking forward to it. Do we think he could score today? I certainly hope so. I think last season his goals were incredible. You just had the confidence when you see the chairman talk about, he told him what he was going to do and he just lets it go across his body and puts it into that far corner. That tells you someone who was playing with unbelievable style and belief in his ability. He's got that. He's got unbelievable talent. So a big game for him. Yeah,
big game for him indeed, and a big game for the home side today. And we're going to reveal the Nottingham Forest team news to you right now. So in goal is Sells, and then it is Aina at right back. Milinkovic, Murillo, Williams, Dominguez, Anderson,
even Dominguez,
Elanga, Gibbs-White, Hudson-Odoi and Wood. Now you're probably wondering why I've just paused there. It's because the man behind the camera's had a bit of a nightmare there, hasn't he?
Well, it's just the seconds run out on the technology at times, and
the phone screen was genuinely locked, so I was looking at the first one and I was like, right, who's the second player going to be? We got the team news, we got it right.
I thought, man of your talent, you just knew the team now. You knew the squad, you didn't need any help.
What
and now you're giving your
secrets
away that you have a little bit of a cue behind the screen of
what I can tell
that
you
front
is,
four, that's what you can tell us.
I can also tell you it's unchanged from when they played Arsenal here and got a very good goalless draw here against them. They play with a low block, this team. They know what they're doing. They've had a good season.
Doing your homework, haven't you? The stats are all out, you understand the way they play.
They've had the lowest amount of possession in the Premier League this season. So
FG, how do you expect the game to go today?
I think Manchester City will win the game today, I hope. But when we look at that team, that's the team that picks itself in a sense. He's played 4 at the back a lot this season. It's probably just a case of them playing on the counter-attack like they always do, and with, like you said, the front players.
Do you know, when I first seen Nuno's teams when he was at Wolves, he was happy for him to sort of say, right, OK, we'll wait, then we'll counter, we'll come out of it. But you've got Hudson-Odoi, Elanga, Gibbs-White, he needs to be stopped. Not only that, he jumps on the back and stops you playing. That's where he's really good. But Chris Wood at the top of the pitch. I mean, nobody would have said his goal return would be anywhere like this. You need your teammates, you need this wonderful atmosphere in this ground, a team and confidence, but we have to be ready. We have to look and sort of say the crosses are going to come in, we've got to get a block in. And from a centre-half sort of position, you almost got to go, well, the ball's going to come in from here. I mean, Kit Symons will tell you exactly how to do it. You've got to get hold of him. You've got to stop him getting that run because he's so dangerous.
And our player of the month from last month, Kushanov, is in the starting 11. Very, very quick. He's going to need that pace today as well to stop them counter-attacks. But how nice is it to have a player with that pace? Of course, our club captain went on loan. We lost that pace from the back four. And we've brought in a young man who's equally just as quick, may I say?
It's interesting that you're discussing pace after we've just seen your stats on pace before. I mean, I don't
and you
think
doubled
really
my pace.
I doubled it, yeah. Doubled your pace, yeah. I like that. That's quite a good one. But do you know what? He had a really poor start, didn't he? That couple of minutes, and hasn't he done well to adapt from it? We all made a little bit of a joke and said, right, now you can start your Manchester City career, to give that confidence, the backing. Obviously, he might not have played so much, but we look now and say that the injuries have been really, really damaging to that back line. And now you go, there you go. Go and take it with everything you've got. Take it in your stride, be confident. Not only defensively, that he's going to be tested today in wider positions. He's going to have to cover in full-back areas, especially if Josko goes high and wide rather than inside. The distance might be a little bit different and the shift. And obviously, coming up regards to aerially, how do you go and judge it? Do you go tight? Do you drop off? And that's something they're going to have to work on. Will he get a screen in front of Wood?
It's set to be a very, very good game here this Saturday afternoon. And Brownie, how do you see it going?
I think City will win. I think it will be difficult. I think Forest will start well. They'll try and put us under pressure. It's about controlling the momentum of the game. I think it's important, though, that we don't just maybe do it with a literally of the possession, left to right too long. When you've got the wide players that we've got, create 1v1s. Let's try and get the other side of them, put the game on the back foot very quickly.
Well, we'll be back to you here pitchside very soon. We're going to go and look for some guys from TNT, and I think you're a bit hungry, aren't you, Brownie? You said you wanted to go and get some.
Why not?
Some
breakfast.
So
breakfast.
I'll let him go and get his VIP treatment, and I'll be back soon with some guys from TNT.
Go and get your breakfast, Brownie. Thank you so much to FG and to Brownie there. We can see the Nottingham Forest team arriving now, of course, after 27 games. Nottingham Forest currently sitting third in the Premier League. I think there probably was nobody in the land that predicted that at the start of the season. It's been an incredible campaign for them, an incredible campaign for Nuno as well. Mark, with your Nottingham Forest hat on at the start of the season, what was your hopes?
Just to better the season before, and that was just escape relegation and try to get established as a Premier League club, which I think now they are. I think they've shown that they deserve that. But 2 seasons prior, going right down to the last few games of the season, are we going to be in the Premier League or not? And this season, did you just say third?
Third, Mark, third.
It's just pinch yourself. It really is. It's pinch yourself. And I think everybody, all the Forest fans, all the people that are involved with the football club, still feel like that as well. Let's just pinch ourselves, but let's enjoy the ride at the same time.
Absolutely. I mean, when you see, though, the players, when you look at the team sheet and you individually look at the names of the players, you should go, well, yes, because after what we've seen of them this season, so many of them have had absolutely incredible standout seasons, especially if you're looking down the sort of spine of your team, from the goalkeeper to your central defenders, to your midfielder, to your attacker. That spine is so unbelievably strong.
It is strong, and probably play a little bit different. I mean, it was mentioned there, Brownie said, the least possession of all the teams in the Premier League this season, but sitting third. So that just shows that possession doesn't always win football matches, but organisation, if you get your team organised and have a strong spine down the middle, that you can play counter-attacking football, because there's a lot of pace in that team as well.
The possession thing is fascinating. Obviously, Nottingham Forest beat Brighton 7-0 recently, which was, I mean, Brighton are a good team. In that game, 37% possession. How do you score 7 goals and have 37% of the possession?
Well, again, you soak up the pressure, you draw teams onto you, and you rely on your pace and your counter-attacking football. But they've got good players that can counter-attack. Pace out wide with Hudson-Odoi, who's having the season of his life. Elanga, who's very, very quick. Gibbs-White, who just floats around, looks like he's just enjoying, looks like he's playing football in the park with his mates at times, because he's just so exciting to watch. The good players, and take nothing away from them that they're where they are in the league, because they have got good players, but also with the good players, they've got good organisation. They've got a manager who seems quite relaxed and lets them go out and play with the freedom as well. And they're just enjoying the football, because I even think the players will be thinking, how are we sitting here third in the Premier League? It's because of their own merit and hard work. Hard work counts for a lot.
It's fascinating watching Forest this year. We know how good that they've been, some of the huge victories that they've had. We mentioned that 7-0 win that they have had over Brighton, but also the week prior to that, they'd been beaten 5-0 off Bournemouth as well. What's kind of happened in the last few weeks? Because the form does seem to have changed recently.
I think, you know, maybe you can they're in that pressure situation now because reality is that there's a chance of Champions League football. Is there a little bit more pressure now on the players? Are they expected to finish in that top four? Are they expected to finish in a position to take them into Europe? I think the answer is yes, they are expected now. So there's that little bit more pressure, you know, so conceding 5 at Bournemouth, we all thought that was a freak one. Then you go and get 7 against Brighton and bounce back very, very well. And then you go to Newcastle and concede 4 in the first half. So there's a lot of inconsistency there. Is it down to the pressure? It probably is.
When you look at 3rd versus 4th in the league, this looks like it does look like a difficult game. It's hard to predict. Perhaps, though, if I'm pulling the positives out for my team, City are coming into it in a much better period of form, playing a Forest team that are coming into it in a not so good run of form. So perhaps it's a good time for us to play Forest and a bad time for you to play City.
I think so, yeah, because, you know, City, obviously, they're a fantastic team. They're coming into a little bit of form. You expect them to go to the City ground today and win the game. Whether that will happen remains to be seen. But you'd expect Manchester City. They've got a lot going on. They've got to qualify for Europe, yeah. And today's a big game. Can they overtake Forest? It's a really strange one because you would expect this to be City cruising to a victory easily against a team that will probably you would expect to be down somewhere in the bottom half of the league. So it brings a whole different perspective to this game today. Massive game, but City are coming into good form at the right time of the season. There's no doubt about that.
It's just been I imagine you've enjoyed watching it as much as all football fans have this season, Kit, from where Forest have come, and also with the various stories around the club as well. Obviously, we know, you know, what Nuno had difficulty perhaps, you know, previously at Spurs and at other jobs as well, following Steve Cooper, who was such a well-loved manager at Forest as well. What do you make of how Nuno is settled in, and what's he done to this team?
I mean, he's done an incredible job. You've got to say, take your hat off to him and say well done for the job of work that him and his staff have done around the football club. I mean, it was one of them with Forest. They'd bought an awful lot of players, a load of players, and eventually you felt it was going to click. Something was going to click. And so as much as they have bought a load of players, now they've found their sort of settled team, really. It's been pretty consistent. I mean, there's no changes today, no surprises. But that starting 11 is very, very strong. And they've got some good boys on the bench as well. So there's decent strength in depth. But like I said, they bought an awful lot of players. It was always going to take a bit of time for that to settle down, all these different players, different personalities, to find the right blend, the right balance. And that's what they've got, and balance being the operative word. I think they've got a really good balance within their team. Like I say, they don't worry about possession. They're not worried about conceding possession to the opposition, knowing that they can catch them on the counter with pace out wide, Elanga and Hudson-Odoi, lightning pace, Gibbs-White breaking through. Then if teams normally would be pressing high against them or up high against them because they've got the possession, and then they can counter with that pace. If teams do sit deep, you've got the physicality of Chris Wood as well, who you can hit direct and bring other people into play. So they've sort of got a good balance within their attacking formation, strong midfield and an excellent defence with a great keeper. So you look at all that, it's not bad, is it?
Yeah, and as you were talking there, you're thinking the way that Forest plays will really suit City, but the way that City play will really suit Forest as well.
Well, it will, and that's been, from a City perspective, our biggest problem. When we're pushing high, we're dominating the game possession-wise, controlling the game as Pep likes, but then we've not really shut the back door too well, and teams counter against us and really hurt us. I mean, now I think with Nico in there, bit more pace at the back as well, we're better suited for dealing with it, but it still will be exactly what Forest game plan will be for City to dominate possession, to press high and then to look to counter. That's what they've done all season. It's quite sort of basic, but they're brilliant at it. Very, very effective. So it's down to City it's the rest defence. So when City have got possession, good controlled possession, or attacking the game, you've got to still have one eye making sure you're shutting up, closing the back door, if you like. So, because there will be that transition, that changeover, and we need to make sure when it happens, we're in the right position then. Because if you try and react, they're so quick on the counter, you can't react. So we need to be in that rest defence needs to be right, and we need to be secure when we've still got the ball before the turnover happens.
And of course, they've got to counter that crowd as well. You know, that well-known how good the crowd is there. Nuno mentioned it in his press conference this week as well, how much the home crowd has helped Forest this season.
It's the old cliche, isn't it? The crowd are an extra man on the pitch. That's certainly been the case this season. What I found interesting is that when you go down to a game now and watch, which I go down and watch a few games, that there's a carnival atmosphere outside the ground from about 10:30 in the morning to 3 o'clock kickoff. It's an all day thing. You know, there's street food and there's bars open outside the ground. So this is all happening before you actually get in the ground. But having played there for 12 years myself, I can never ever remember the atmosphere like it is today in that ground. I really can't. And the noise does go to a different level. There's only 30,000, but it's enclosed, it's tight, and it's a pleasurable day out. And whether the team are winning or losing, this is the big thing. The crowd still get behind the team.
Oh, it's going to be an incredible day there as well, especially with this beautiful sunshine that we're having as well. So we're going to hear from Nuno in just a second, but first up, let's hear from Pep and his pre-match press conference.
Very simple. When you are third in the table after 8-10 fixtures, okay. But when you happen with 11 games left, still you are third, is because you have done really, really, really well. Otherwise, you cannot be there for many, many times, many months, doing a good things and being third in the table. So, impressive, I would say.
As I said before, playing at the City Ground has been, I honestly believe that the players feel comfortable. Some of them just anxious to play at the City Ground. They enjoy it so much, and that reflects on the performance of the team. And more than anything is the fans, the noise, the atmosphere, the help that they give us, the extra run that they make us do, the noise that they make when the opponent has the ball. So all these things come together is huge for us to play at the City Ground.
Defend really well, really compact, aggressive, and the transitions are really good. The long balls with Woods, is they win 8-10. The four up front, they are really good, create many things. Hodgson, Elanga, Gibbs White, exceptional player, Woods, so create many things for themselves. Good keeper, experienced defender, so I'm an exceptional player, fullback, can play on both sides. So physical team in the middle, Anderson, top player as well. So yeah, that's why you are third. Otherwise, cannot be there before play the last part of the season.
And that was both the managers speaking this week in their press conferences. So it is a 12:30 p.m. UK time kickoff. So you've got about 45 minutes until this Premier League game, this huge Premier League game. And of course, as always, you get your full match commentary with the wonderful Alistair Mann and with Michael Brown, who is at the City Ground. If you're not watching on the City app, that is where you'll get the commentary. Now, we have a debutant on the show today. We're welcoming Mark Crossley for the very first time. And as you'll all know by now, when we welcome somebody, Kit, for the first time, we like to just spend a little bit of time getting to know them a bit more so that we'll all get to know you, get to find out a little bit more about your career as well, please, Mark. So, Forest, obviously, when you think of your name, Forest is the club that comes to mind immediately. Over 300 years at Forest. 300 years? 300 games, Mark. 300 games. You said, was it 12 years?
Yeah, 12 years. Yeah.
12 years at Forest. I mean, first of all, when you joined Forest, your first manager that you had was Brian Clough.
It was, yeah, 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah, amazing. What an education, a start to a professional football career, to having one of the most charismatic, influential managers that there's ever been. And he was very much a manager that was a man manager. Everything was based around trust, and if he trusted you and you trusted him, Wasn't really much of a tactician. He had staff that did that type of thing for him, but and what he did, he managed the club from top to bottom. So he wasn't an head coach. He wasn't a coach that went on the training ground. He managed the football club. And when I look back at my career and I look back at who were the most important people at the football club, it was the people like the kitmen, the cleaning ladies and all that. He knew every single one by their first names. And that's why it became a family club. And that's why it will always be Brian Clough's football club. Managers that have come in after him, some have embraced that, some haven't. When you've got such a high-profile figure that managed the club for 16 years and had 2 European Cups and a little bit of success in the 90s with ourselves as well, then I think when you look back at that, that's why you realise that it's Brian Clough's football club.
When you were talking there, it reminds me a lot about Pep as well. We know that Pep knows everybody on the ground level at this club and is involved in absolutely everything. And there's definitely so much to be said for that, for success as well, obviously.
Absolutely, because, you know, if you walk into a club on a Monday morning and the kit man's going to put your kit out and he comes up to you and gives you a pat on the back and says, well done Saturday, then, you know, it's nice. Everybody likes a well done, and that's the kind of base that he built, that well done, stick together, help each other out, doesn't matter who you are, you know, whether it's the guy that goes and makes the cups of tea at half-time and things like that, they're all important to the football club, and it breeds success. And, you know, the gaffer used to come in on a morning and he used to go to the cleaning ladies and give them a kiss, is there anything you need? And, you know, he knew them by their first names, is there anything your family needs? And he'd send them flowers, and that's the beginning of the breeding of success.
Oh, I just love that. I can't imagine, though, that like Brian Clough being your first manager and then how, like, for the rest of your career, how people would compare to him. But in terms of on the pitch, you made your debut versus Liverpool, 19. Wow.
Yeah.
That feels young for a debut for a goalkeeper.
It was, and it came by accident. So sometimes we talk about a little bit of luck along the way, being in the right place at the right time. I was 5th choice goalkeeper at the time. Only played 4 reserve games, and we had a first team goalkeeper called Steve Sutton who'd gone down with a virus during the day because it was an evening kickoff. Then the 2nd choice goalkeeper, Hans Seegers, was on loan at Wimbledon. We had 2 other older goalkeepers than me. One was injured. One was out of the frame, so I was the only one left. So I had to play. And this is where he was brilliant as a manager. I didn't find out till 7 o'clock that evening with a 7:30 kickoff that I was actually going to play. So I got told at 7 o'clock, and this is where he was brilliant, because he knew that if I knew I was going to play, I would probably get worked up and didn't really expect to play against Liverpool. He'd called my father during the day, asked him to come down to the game, watch the game, but under no circumstances to tell me that I was going to play. So my father had been there all day. So that's the type of manager I was. When I talk about man management, that's genius. So I didn't have any time to think about what was going to happen in that game. It was a matter of get changed, get your boots on, get your gloves on, go and do the best, enjoy it, play with a smile on your face, see what happens from there. And we won the game 2-1 as well. So yeah.
I was going to say, how did you do in the game?
We won 2-1. I don't remember a lot that happened because everything just went so quickly. But that was the start of my career at Forest and 394 games.
What a phenomenal debut story.
Yeah,
that
unbelievable.
Is. Of course, you're going to have a really successful career, play for Wales, alongside you, Kit, play for Wales as well. Wow. What was it like when you were obviously playing in defence and Mark was in goal?
Yeah, it was good times. I mean, we had a real good camaraderie, I think, didn't we, with that Welsh squad. It was difficult times on the pitch, but we had a great group of players, group of lads, and some of the away trips were just hilarious. We were reminiscing about some of the old stories earlier. We had some real laughs, and I say, well, it was difficult on the pitch. We didn't always have the best of times, and the organisation wasn't anything like as good as it is these days.
We can't repeat some of them stories. Either.
No, there's lots of stories we could tell you, Natalie, but that'll be off air, I think.
I'll look forward to those.
Yeah.
I was a bit unfortunate at the time. I know Kit's got plenty of caps. I don't know how many caps, but I know a lot. I only got 8 caps because I came after Neville Southall. And then I suffered through some injuries as well, and Paul Jones then came and got in the team and ended up getting 50 caps and never really recovered from that injury to get back in. But 43 squads, 8 caps, but I wouldn't miss it for the world because, like Kit says, the banter and the camaraderie back then was amazing.
And I hear as well that you scored a goal.
I did.
As a goalkeeper?
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I was playing for Sheffield Wednesday, and we were 3-2 down against Southampton at the time. And I decided that it was time to go and try and get on the end of a corner. We had a corner in the last minute. The manager, Brian Laws, was telling me to get back in goal because if I got down that end and didn't score, I would never get back. But I thought, I'll just ignore him. And I just managed to get in on the end of the corner and head it in the middle of the goal.
Goalkeepers scoring last-minute goals from corners is one of my absolute favourite things in football. It's one of the greatest things in football. How did it feel?
I think you've probably hit the nail on the head because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to celebrate because from picking the ball out of the goal at one end of the pitch to going and putting it in the goal at the other, it's a really, really strange feeling. Making big saves, saving penalties, you can go on about it all day long. But for a goalkeeper to actually equalise in the last minute, it was a strange feeling, but probably one of the best I've ever had in football.
If you'd have done that in a Brian Clough team, what do you think he'd have said?
He wouldn't have let me go up for the corner. No way. No way. I wasn't allowed out the 6-yard box under him. Because your job under Brian Clough as a goalkeeper was very basic. He'd ask you what your job is, and I would say, well, I don't know, pick the ball, throw it out and all that. No. I pay you £200 a week to stop the ball from going in the goal. That's your job. Make sure you do it. Very basic. So to go up for a corner as a goalkeeper under Brian Clough, it would just never, ever happen. Because if you did, you would never play again.
I imagine what Brian Clough would say about the style of goalkeepers these days and the work that they do. Thank you so much. I feel like we could have done that for an hour.
Yeah, it would have been 21st of March this year as well. It would have been his 90th birthday. And this year is the 50th year since he managed Nottingham Forest. So it's an important year. And
what an honour it would be in his legacy for Forest to finish in the top 4.
If they got into Europe, because he won 2 European Cups, if they got into Europe, I think he'd be looking down thinking that he'd be really proud of them, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much. Really enjoyed finding out a bit more about your career. Now, there's an incredible documentary that has just been released on City Plus. If you don't have City Plus already, of course you get the Women's Games, the Academy Games, but you also get these incredible documentaries that are made. There's some phenomenal documentaries on there. I haven't watched this one yet, but I'm intending to this evening because it gave me spine tingles when I just watched this trailer. So this is a new documentary called Life After Football, and it looks at what some of our former players have gone on to do since they hung up their boots.
All you've ever been taught to do is to be a footballer.
Steph Horton has announced she will retire from football.
When it's gone, you know, you're never going to feel them feelings again.
How far does your identity get you when the thing that you did for so long isn't the thing you can do anymore?
Suddenly your career changes literally overnight, and I was fearful.
Whatever you do in life, you'll get nothing like scoring the last-minute winner.
Hopefully I can find that happiness in whatever the next chapter is.
Fernandinho, realmente você tem uma lesão grave?
Pensar certinho para ver qual que é a melhor decisão a se tomar, então.
Sozinho ninguém consegue porra nenhuma. A gente vai conseguir juntos. Todo mundo junto.
I think for some, they love the game so much that they'll do anything they can to be part of it for as long as possible.
Football is a bubble. You'll finish this bubble, you will be proud about what you do, but you have another life.
It's one of the best decisions I made.
Why not be able to push yourself as much as you can?
Buenos días, Tiki. ¿Vamos a ver pronto dirigiendo o no?
Si aún te gusta, no lo dejes.
E o que você mais sente falta no futebol?
There's no guarantees in football.
The problem is the schedule.
We never know what's going to happen today, tomorrow.
Without doubt, one of the best moments was that moment when I knew I wasn't going to play again.
Fernandinho vai continuar a jogar?
Gave you goosebumps watching that, didn't it? Because it did for me again. Cannot wait to watch that documentary. Life After Football, available on City Plus now. Gents, we don't often talk about life after football. Of course, when you've had a career that's had so many highs that you both had in a job that I imagine you both absolutely loved, when you're coming towards the end of your playing days, Kit, were you already thinking about what you would do when you retired, or were you just focused on the end of your career?
Well, most footballers sort of think they're Peter Pan, they're going to go on forever and can't quite get their heads around it. If you get to 35, you've done really well. You know, not many players get to 35. A few go beyond, but like I say, not many. But I'd started towards sort of I actually retired from playing at 33, but I sort of fell into I was at Palace at the time. I became player caretaker manager, then player assistant manager. Then that season, we got to the playoffs, won the playoffs. I was suddenly in the Premier League and my playing contract finished. So the club offered me an assistant manager's contract in the Premier League, but with no playing side to it. So I was 33, I had a bad hip injury, so I had to make a decision. My playing day's done, but I'm assistant in the Premier League, or I could go and play Championship or maybe League One somewhere else. But I thought with the injury, because giving up playing is really difficult, really hard decision to make. But my injury was quite bad and I knew I wasn't the same. And so I made that decision because I was offered Premier League assistant manager, which is a great job. Do you know what I mean? So I transitioned naturally straight into that. And I'm sure it was the right call. But we were talking earlier, Mark and myself, about the problems so many players get. And you do stuff with like mental health side for footballers to help them. And it's so important because everyone has some sort of struggle generally and a story to tell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was pretty similar. I was lucky to play till I was 41. Although it was dropped down the divisions, I couldn't give up. But whilst I was at Fulham, I did my coaching badges alongside playing. I wanted to have a go at management. I did that, caretaker manager at Chesterfield. So pro licensed coach, did all my badges. Did the jobs, goalkeeping coach, assistant manager, caretaker manager. I only enjoyed my time on the training ground after playing. I couldn't get my head around finishing playing. That's why I dropped down the leagues and played as long as I could. So I managed to get to 41 in League Two. Did the coaching. I must admit I enjoyed the goalkeeping coaching on the training pitch more than anything. I didn't particularly like everything else that went with it, before training, meetings, after training and all that. And I made a decision to come out of the game because I do quite a bit of after-dinner speaking and a little bit of punditry, and I found more time at home, sorted more my personality and the after-dinner circuit. So I went into that and I don't have any regrets. But when I came out of the game, I had big problems. I could not deal with being away from the dressing room. Even as a coach, you still have that little bit of, because I was like a go-between between the players and the manager, and I was quite good at that. Again, I bring my personality into that, quite a strong personality. But even when I'd made a decision to come away from it, although I'd had enough of it, I couldn't deal with the situation. So I reached out for help and got a bit of help from Sporting Chance and set up a charity called Walking's Brilliant, which I got a load of ex-footballers who had been quite open about what the problems were like after football. So we got together, did some challenges, and it kind of brought that like dressing room kind of banter back together. So we were open up, we used social media to put it out there, and I'm really proud of the way that it's gone because it's raised a lot of money for mental health in all different charities, and it kind of gives you that satisfaction of like winning a game on a Saturday, to going and completing a challenge, but you're raising money for people that has not been as fortunate as you. Is that's the kind of buzz that you get from it. So that's still going strong. So yeah, I'm heavily involved on a day-to-day basis with that. So long may that continue as well. But life's good.
That's phenomenal. That's so amazing. It's so lovely to hear about. I can't imagine what it's like to go from having 30, 40,000, 50,000 people screaming for you week on, week out, for that then to be over, and like you say, the camaraderie, the friendships that you've made, the being in the dressing rooms. Are you supporting? Have you got a lot of footballers that come to you and speak to you, and when they retire, or are you speaking to people as they're coming to the end of their careers?
No, so I reached out to people like who I'd played against and who that saw Chris Kirkland. They don't mind you speaking about it because they want it out there. Who like painkilling addiction, and Stevie Howie, who works for you, he was part of our group because he'd had his problems after football. Dean Windass had his problems, and they're all problems that they're not ashamed to speak about. And although it happens in football, it happens in everyday life as well. So we decided that to use social media, that if we can get our message out there, maybe people, the general public, think if they can do it, if they've been in the limelight all them years and they can speak about it, then we can as well. And that was the idea behind it, and it has gone from strength to strength. So, yeah, I mean, I still miss the football today. I like to be involved, and we miss playing. We all miss playing, but unfortunately, one day it ends. But the thing about it was football, it ends literally overnight. There's not a slow process to it. When you finish playing, you're finished, and people forget about you. Simple as that. So, and it's difficult to deal with. I can't wait to watch that programme myself as well, because I can totally relate to it.
So there is the documentary available now on City Plus, Life After Football. It is a must see. So less than 30 minutes now from today's 12:30 p.m. UK time kickoff. Manchester City on the road to Nottingham Forest today, third taking on fourth. The team is on the bottom of your screen there if you're just joining us. The starting 11, 9 changes from the team that beat Plymouth Argyle in the FA Cup last weekend. So third versus fourth, but it is incredibly tight in the Premier League currently. 6 points separate third placed Forest and Villa in 10th. Wow, there is a battle going on to get the Champions League spots and the other European places as well. Only once in Premier League history have fewer points separated 4th and 10th in the league at this point in the campaign. Is it a sign, Kit, that the Premier League is getting stronger, that the teams that historically have sat in the middle of the table are getting stronger?
Yeah, I think so. You look at the quality of the teams. I mean, Forest, prime example, but then people like Brighton, Bournemouth, Fulham, on their day, fantastic teams. But also, they've spent a lot of money. So now these teams that were always almost looked at as sort of not making up the numbers, that's disrespectful, but they were never going to challenge. Now they're really well-established Premier League clubs. They've got good financial backing, solid, well-run clubs generally as well, you tend to find. And, it's looking so strong. That tells its story, the fact there's so few points between 10th and 3rd. I think it was always viewed as the strongest league in the world. I think this proves it. It's getting stronger.
Let's have a look at the table, just in case you hadn't noticed how tight it is between 3rd and 10th as well. So here is the current Premier League table. So you can see Liverpool and Arsenal there, but then if you look at 3rd, so you've got Forest on 48, we're on 47, Chelsea just below us on 46, Newcastle 44, Bournemouth 43, Brighton 43, Fulham 42, Villa 42.
Wow.
Wow, it's insane. I mean, I love it. Obviously, I'd rather City were in first place, Mark, just to make that obviously clear. I don't think anyone needed to know that. I love this competition, though, and the rise, like Kit said, we are seeing in the clubs Brighton, Bournemouth, Fulham, Villa that are run so well. I'm loving seeing the Premier League this season.
Isn't it exciting? It's like it's like a relief that we're now seeing that we're going into an end of the season and we cannot predict anything that's going to happen. Usually the top 4 is usually maybe sorted out by now. Looking for Champions League places, right down to 11th still possible. That's amazing at this point in the season. And it's so exciting. So we're going into the last part of the season and you could pick any one of them. I agree with Kit. It's refreshing to see Fulham there, Brighton there, Bournemouth. Bournemouth are probably one of the best footballing teams I've seen this season. When you put it into perspective, and Brentford I think are just one below Villa. So it's fantastic to see. It's so exciting.
But then you look as well. You look at Forest, Brighton, Bournemouth. the turnarounds with the results with those fixtures. There were 7-0, 5-0, 5-0.
Yeah.
Within a few weeks of each other. It's crazy.
And Newcastle as well. We beat Newcastle 4-0. Newcastle beat Forest. Yeah.
So you can get smashed like 4, 5, 7-0 and then go and win 5-0 the next week, and it's almost expected now. But the quality is fantastic. Like I say, and you look at, but also those teams have spent a lot of money now. That they are well financed, spend a lot of money, so it shouldn't be a massive surprise. But it's still seeing the likes of Bournemouth, Brighton. It's refreshing. It's brilliant to see. But like I say, it does go to show that these are very well-run clubs and just how strong the Premier League is.
Yeah, and if we were to look at the bottom half of the table and see some clubs that have been not well run, that would make the point. Obviously, double the point there, Kit. In terms of Forest, so 6 of Forest's last 11 games are against sides in the bottom 8. So, given those fixtures, where they currently are Forest going to get in the Champions League?
That's not always a good thing. Sometimes it's better to be playing the teams around you when there's pressure on it, because do you become a little bit more relaxed when you're expected to win a game of football? Maybe it could be a good thing, I don't know, but I expect them to get a European place now. 3 or 4 games ago I was still on the fence, but now I'm expecting that there's going to be a Champions League challenge, but I'll really, really be surprised if that team that I see and I've seen play all season doesn't get a European place. So that's where I'm at.
And which would still be phenomenal, which would still be incredible. In terms of Chelsea sitting just below us, Kit, their form lately has stunk, to put it flatly. Last 10 games, they've had 11 points from 30. It's the worst of anyone in the top half at the minute. They haven't strung together successive wins since mid-December, which I'm thinking, good, Kit. I'm happy for them to have this level of form because we don't want them jumping, either of us.
No.
Exactly. I mean, I watched them pre-season against City over in the States, and I thought they were way off it, Chelsea. So I didn't expect them to do so well this season. Then they suddenly had a really good spell, and people were talking about them potentially challenging. You're like, OK. But then it's like I say, just recently the form has really struggled. And it's amazing how quickly it can change. And suddenly there's a few rumblings and a bit of discontent there. But again, this is Premier League. It's so tough, and this is why the teams. So for a Forest, for example, to have kept this form, everyone was expecting them to drop off. It will drop off. They can't keep going. Well, they've kept going, but now it's the final push. Last couple of months, can they keep that going now all the way through? Which would be an incredible achievement. But you can't count it out at all and. It's not like they're there by luck, because they've got really good players. They're really well organised, like you say, got a good manager. Everyone knows what they're doing. It's a good structure and a good formula, and it's working. So there's no reason it should fall away. But if they keep this level of form going all the way through, fair play.
Yeah, the table, always one of those football cliches, the table doesn't lie. In terms of another football cliche, the cup being a distraction. If we're looking at those teams that are going in for the top 4, obviously Newcastle are in the final of the League Cup that's coming up. You've got Fulham in the FA Cup quarterfinals, Villa, Brighton, of course Forest as well, Bournemouth and us. So these teams that are pushing for the top 4, the majority are also either in the final of the League Cup or pushing in the FA Cup as well. Is the cup a distraction?
Well, back in the day, it wasn't, because winning cup games, it breeds confidence. Winning football matches breeds confidence. So having a good cup run, certainly for Forest, still in the FA Cup, I believe that's actually gave them a massive lift. I seen the manager run on the pitch after the penalty shootout win against Ipswich, and for a manager to run and celebrate with the players like he did, I think that spells that one of the underdogs still in the cups, that can only give them a lift. For the bigger teams, I think they tend to not disrespect it, but I think they're expected to be there in the latter parts of the cup competitions anyway. Whereas for Forest, this is a bonus. This is a big lift for them. So as far as that's concerned, no, I think the cup runs, it hasn't been a distraction for Forest, but what it is for the bigger teams, maybe it could be, because they like to keep the top players, the best players fit. So they use it as a time for a rest, really.
Well, yeah, we saw that with Liverpool completely, and I think the reason City tend to go so far in these cup competitions, Kit, like we always do, is because we have so much respect for the FA Cup, and we put out full-strength teams when you see the team that we put out against Plymouth. So it's certainly not a distraction for us, Kit. In fact, I'm really very much hoping that we go all the way in the FA Cup.
Yeah, no, I think it becomes, this stage of the season, still in the European competitions, becomes, then it's a real slog. It's really intense and very, very difficult then. Unfortunately, we're not there, but on the flip side of it, then we can give more focus now to the FA Cup. And like I say, Pep always has taken it very, very seriously anyway. But just like going into today's game, suddenly both teams have not been playing midweek, so going into it fresh, this is unheard of for Man City. Normally it's like travelled away or had a big game, and it's just getting the bodies back on the pitch again. It's very, very difficult. So it's a new situation. Hopefully, like I say, in future we'll be in the latter stage of these competitions, which we normally are, So, but the fact we're not, we can focus on, okay, use that extra energy maybe, go and win the FA Cup, make sure we get top 4 spot.
I'm going to give you a couple of minutes, just a little heads up. I'm going to ask you for your top 4 prediction in just a second. But we are going to just go over back to the City ground now. And we're going to hear from Darren Fletcher, who's on commentary today for TNT.
We're joined by Darren Fletcher, the voice of boxing. And football as well while we're on it. So from a Nottingham Forest perspective, don't be biased, Darren. I know that you might.
Oh, well, I tell you what, this is a massive game. For Forest today and for City, huge. I mean, Forest haven't got many games left against teams fighting for the Champions League places, so they've got to play Villa, City today. The rest of them are against teams below them, and in a lot of cases quite significantly below them. So this is a big one today, but the run-in does look, I mean, I know you can't guarantee anything, you'll tell me that as a former player, but as the run-in looks, it looks okay. So I think that the belief is growing in the City that they might just be able to pull it off.
Who do you think can squeeze in there?
We were talking about this before. I think Arsenal are certainties. I think City are certainties. So there's 3. I look at Forest running, they've got a real chance. I think Bournemouth's running gives them a real chance if they can keep winning. But we don't know whether they can do this for an extended period of time. Chelsea have got to get right soon, haven't they? Got to get right. By the way, Chelsea come here on the last day of the season, which might be a winner takes all of the Champions League. You never know. But I think there's a few you can say no to. I don't think Fulham will make it. I don't think Villa will make it. I don't think Brighton will make it. But I think from Brighton up, Newcastle, Chelsea, Forest, Bournemouth.
Villa?
No. Played 28 games now. The others have played 27 and they're behind.
Mark Crossley is in the studio.
Yes.
Can you give us anything for Big Norm before we go?
If I gave you some of the stuff I know about Big Norm would never work again, and nor would you. But I will say this. He's one of the funniest fellas that I've ever met. He's one of the nicest fellas that I've ever met. And he's one of the most popular footballers that this club's ever had. He's an all-round top fella, as you know from being around him. So I hope you're okay, big lad, and I hope we see you soon.
Let's go back to the studio, to Big Norm.
Thank you, Michael Brown. Thank you very much, Darren Fletcher. And thank you to Big Norm in the studio. That was very nice, or was it?
Very nice, yeah. I know Fletch from when he first started with the Nottingham Evening Post as a football writer, and I was one of the ones that got a few of the players to speak to him. He was a young lad trying to be a journalist, and look where he is now. So I'm going to take all the credit for that one.
And I am fully expecting some stories from the two of you when the game is on and the cameras are not switched on.
Can I just say quickly, that Brownie as well, you don't need friends like Brownie. He said I was 55 earlier. I'm 54 today.
I could have, yeah, it's ridiculous, could have told you that, Kit. I would have guessed younger as well.
Thank you,
yes.
Natalie.
Thank you. Right, I've given you a minute. I'm going to ask you for your top 4 prediction, and then what we're going to do at the full-time whistle when the game's over, we're going to ask you again and see if it changes based on the result today. But as it stands, give me your top 4.
I think it will be the current top 4 now, but I think City 3rd, Forest 4th.
Mark?
I agree. I'm with that. I'm with Fletch. I think prime position, if we can take advantage of the fixtures that are left, like you said, a lot of the bottom teams below us, I think we can sneak in there. I'm still a little bit on the fence, but as a prediction, I'm going to go with Kit. City 3rd. Arsenal are already there, Liverpool are already there, Forest 4th.
We'll ask you again at full time, and I'm just publicly putting mine out there. I think City are going to finish 2nd, Arsenal 3rd, and Forest 4th. Right, let's go over now back to the City ground where FG is with Ali McCoist and Joleon Lescott.
Yes, thank you very much. As you can see, we are joined by two absolute legends, Ali and Jolien. First things first, we're talking about the battle for the top four, the race for the top four. Nottingham Forest are in an amazing position, aren't they?
I've got to say, remarkable. I mean, absolutely remarkable. What a season they're having, still in the cup as well, obviously. Penalty win against Ipswich. A lot of people, and myself included, thought they might fall away a wee bit. But boy, oh boy, how wrong was that? And they're flying. And you've got to say at this moment in time, they look one of the favourites for the top four places.
What about this time of the season, Jolien, when you're heading into this, 11 games left, 10 after today, does the pressure get to you a bit more in the dressing room, especially when you're in unfamiliar situations, surroundings, or will it be something that the team relish?
Definitely relish, definitely excite them, the fans, the manager, all components. This is as you said, the business end of the season, and this is something you want to achieve and want to obtain. So with what's at stake in regards to the Champions League, these players will be super excited to bring this back to this club.
And having the opportunity here to sort of secure third place is massive for them as well, isn't it? The atmosphere in this stadium, we've seen it when we've been here before as well. It gets loud. The fans get behind the team. It's going to be a special afternoon, isn't it?
Well, there's something about the stadium. It's a kind of throwback. It's one of these kind of 70s, 80s stadiums, which we love. As stadiums go, listen, the new stadiums are fantastic, of course they are, but there's something special that come into places like this. You're right, crowd get behind them, a special atmosphere. They're having the season in their lives. You better believe they'll be in top form today, for sure.
And they're happy to sort of regain possession a lot, aren't they? They've got the lowest possession stat, I think, in the Premier League. Playing on the counter-attack sort of suits them, especially when City want to keep the ball so much.
Yeah, definitely. I think Nuno has recognised what is comfortable and most effective for his group of players, which I have to give him immense credit for, because I don't think enough managers do that. I think most managers want to play a certain way and it doesn't always suit their players, but he hasn't done that. He's recognised, well, this is the way best suits us and this is the way we can be most effective. And as you said, it's probably the style, even if Man City were in the greatest of form, this is probably the one style that they don't enjoy playing against, low block with strong players to counter-attack. So it's going to be an exciting game.
I mean, we have to talk about the two number 9s. I imagine everybody seems to be talking about it this week. First things first, Jolien, who would you rather defend against, Chris Wood or Erling Haaland?
None of them is going to be an easy day, but I would say I'd rather defend Chris Wood, because Erling has a level of pace, and if greatest respect, if we're talking about in the teams as well, the components that Man City have, I'd have to worry about them. But yeah, in terms of the seasons, they've both been super effective and can score a variety of goals. I would say Chris Wood and Ali will speak better than me on finishing, but in the box, he's as good as anyone in the league, definitely. I think out of the box and say halfway line, Erling may cause you more problems because he can run in behind and be a bit more direct that way, but in terms of in the box, Chris Wood is outstanding.
See, the one thing that I think Forest do probably more than a lot of teams in the league, you're absolutely spot on with your assessment here. Not having possession of football doesn't really bother them. But the one thing they do that suits Chris Wood in particular, when they get the ball in wider areas, they put crosses in. A lot of teams nowadays, are probably good City because they're so good with possession. If it's not on, they'll come out and they'll try and thread little passes through you. What suits Chris Wood and Forest have a lot of success, if they get it in a wide area, clearly they've got pace. Julian's 100% right. The pace they've got on the counters there very evident for everybody to see. However, when they do get the ball in wide areas, they get crosses into the box, and that's one of the things that likes of Chris Wood thrives on. But Haaland's just a different level of finisher.
Yeah, he is. We know how much you love Erling as well. Do you think there'll be a little bit more pressure on City to get a result here today over Forest?
Potentially, with what's at stake, definitely. As you said, they're still in control of their own fate in regards to obtaining Champions League. But yeah, this isn't an easy place. I remember a couple of years ago, I think it might have been Haaland's first season, when we came in, he missed a couple of chances. I think it ended up 0-0, 1-1.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a very tight game. And like you said, this atmosphere here is outstanding, especially now they're doing so well.
Yeah, I mean, Erling could have had a hat-trick that day, but Chris Wood actually scored the equaliser that day. I mean, look, there's three of us here. There is supposed to be a fourth one because Michael Brown just hasn't bothered. I think he's having the breakfast in the back.
He could do with missing a meal, to be fair, Brownie. He could do with missing a meal.
He's not the only one, actually.
Hopefully he's Greek yogurt. Hopefully he's eating that full English.
I had a look.
Rolling bacon.
I had a look. He wasn't eating Greek yogurt, but he's in the back, Brownie. Any messages for Brownie when he finally makes it pit side?
Yeah, give us a rolling bacon. Bring us a rolling bacon. It's quite simple.
Well, gents, we'll let you go because you're going to enjoy the breakfast, I imagine, as well. Been an absolute pleasure as always. Thank you so much. Let's head back to the studio.
Thank you to FG, to Ali McCoist and to Jolien Lescott. Loved that. It was really interesting, I thought, from Jolien. Who would he rather defend? So I'm going to go to the defender and then the goalkeeper. Who would you rather defend, Chris Wood or Erling Haaland?
You got your hands full with both of them, but Erling Haaland's just unplayable on his day completely. So if you had to pick, I'd say Chris Wood to play against. But he's in great form, Wood as well. Actually, when I was Fulham manager, we looked at signing him. I think he was at Leicester at the time, but he wasn't scoring enough goals, so club wouldn't sanction it. But he's obviously gone and done incredibly well. But I think Erling does it season in, season out. Chris Wood's having a brilliant season. Whether he can do that again next season, he's having the season of his life at the moment, to be fair, as are Forest. Or maybe not their lives, because they've won European Cups, obviously, but having for a long, many years, the best season by a long stretch. So, but he's in great form at the moment and having a brilliant season. But whether he can keep it going, like to get to the numbers of Erling, time will tell. But doubtful.
Pep said this week that he is a pure striker. When you look at his numbers, he's scored 18 Premier League goals this season. Chris Wood, Erling, of course, has scored 20 Premier League goals. But when you look at Chris Wood's goal conversion, which has had everybody talking, 37% is his goal conversion, which is higher than everybody else in the league this season. And so that tells us so much about him. He doesn't get a lot of chances, but when he does, he scores them. Like, that's an incredible conversion rate. I think they're two totally different types of players, because Chris Wood, I've watched him all season. He's really, really good, and Kit will vouch for this, that he's really good at getting in between defenders. He won't run in behind, doesn't particularly like to come short. He likes to play between the sticks, and he doesn't do much more. But when he's in the box, he seems to be a problem for defenders, because he's really, really difficult to mark. He's got great technique of striking the ball as well. Strikers breed on confidence as well as goalkeepers as well. And at the moment, Chris Wood, everything he touches seems to be in the back of the net when he does touch it. So that's why his strike rate is so good with the percentages. But there'll be times where you go eight games without a goal, and then the striker thinks, well, where's my next goal coming from? He's just been in that rich vein of form all season. But that's down to him getting in the right places at the right time. And crosses do come in the box from Forest, and he gets in between people really well. So just give me a name. Who comes out on top today, Wood or Haaland?
Haaland.
Haaland for me, because he's prolific and powerful. But Chris Wood is I think he's surprised everybody this season. Thank you so much. For last thing, I'm going to ask you about score prediction, please, Kit.
2-1 City.
Oh, really? Okay. I'm gonna be a 1-1 draw. Okay. Hey, no, you don't need to be pro City. You can be. No. I think 1-1 draw against Arsenal, draw against City. That's good enough for us. Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much for joining us today. We've really enjoyed it. Thank you, Kit, as always. Thank you, everybody, for watching Matchday Live. You can get full match commentary of City versus Nottingham Forest now at the City Ground, and that is on the app. If you're not currently watching on the app, switch over to there now. Alistair Mann and Michael Brown will be back at half-time and full-time, as always, where hopefully Kit's prediction, and that is him celebrating his birthday with a correct prediction there. So the teams are coming out now. Thank you for joining us. Over to Alistair Mann.
Make sure you make me see you. Yeah?
Thank you, Natalie. Welcome to the City Ground. Has the battle for a top four finish ever been as intense as this one? There are just 6 points separating 8 sides from 3rd down to 10th. There are a host of clubs in the mix, with City currently in 4th and today's opponents, Nottingham Forest, 1 place above them. It means that today's meeting has enormous significance, with the Blues fully aware that a victory would take them above Forest and up into 3rd. Anything less, and you never know, they could be as low as 6th come the end of this weekend. With 11 games to play, there may not be a title to contest, but the importance of Champions League qualification can never be underestimated. The two teams are in the tunnel, just counting down to the moment where they can enter this pulsating arena, packed to the rafters, with expectant Nottingham Forest supporters on 3 of the 4 sides. There is a genuine feeling around these parts that with the fixtures remaining after this one, that Forest are certainly favourites to end in the top four. City, they feel, are the toughest opponents left for them to encounter. The Blues, after today, don't meet anyone outside the top 7, so perhaps they will be feeling exactly the same way. It is a quite stunning day right by the side of the Trent. I wonder who will be shedding tears into the river. Well, Forest, like City, progressed to the quarter-finals of the FA Cup last weekend, albeit it was on Monday evening, and the hosts have made 6 changes to the side, which ultimately beat Ipswich Town on penalties. Perhaps the fact that this is an unchanged lineup to the one which drew with Arsenal in their last league fixture is more of a guideline. It's a team set up